The storm hit harder than the forecast promised. Wind clawed at the tent, rain hammered like fists on canvas, and somewhere in the darkness, engines idled. Cole, the man who never slept easy, was out cold. Me? I sat with my hand on a tire iron, waiting. Before we begin, tell us where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Your every comment, gift, and membership helps us bring more heart-touching stories to your life. We'd found the place just before the clouds broke. A small clearing behind an abandoned diner, weeds curling through cracks in the asphalt. Cole had been running on fumes all day, the desert still in his bones from yesterday. Let's just crash here, I said, already unpacking the tent. He didn't argue. By the time we got the poles in the ground, the wind was picking up, bending the branches like they were bowing to something unseen. Cole leaned his Harley against the diner wall, helmet still on. His shoulders sagged. You okay? I asked. Just need some shut-eye, he muttered. That was strange. Cole never slept deep, never let his guard down. Not since I'd met him on that stormy highway weeks ago. But tonight, he lay down and was gone within minutes. I stayed up, listening to the rain, and then I heard it, the crunch of boots on wet gravel. The sound came from the far end of the lot, faint at first, then closer. My mind went straight to every roadside warning Cole had ever given me, about who might be watching and why. I slipped out of the tent quietly. The rain was coming sideways now, cold enough to sting. My flashlight beam caught movement. 3 figures, standing just beyond the chain-link fence, half hidden by the dark. They weren't talking, just watching. One of them tapped a cigarette, the ember glowing briefly in the rain. I stepped forward, just enough to make it clear I'd seen them. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. Can I help you? I called out, voice steadier than I felt. No answer. Just the hiss of rain and the sound of a car door shutting somewhere behind them. I glanced back at the tent. Cole was still out cold. Whatever this was, I was on my own for now. I thought about waking him. I really did. But there was something in the way his chest rose and fell, peaceful, almost vulnerable, that made me stop. This man had carried me through places I'd never have survived alone. He'd stood between me and people who wanted to see me broken. Tonight, maybe it was my turn. I gripped the tire iron from my truck, its cold weight grounding me, moved closer to the fence. The figures didn't move, just tracked me with their eyes. I couldn't tell if they were curious or deciding something worse. Lightning split the sky, throwing their faces into sharp relief. One older man with a scar through his eyebrow, another with a baseball cap low over his eyes, the third barely more than a kid. They didn't look lost. They looked like they were waiting. For what? I wasn't sure. I wanted to find out. The rain turned into a curtain, sheets of water making the fence shimmer like glass. My jacket was soaked through, my boots filling with mud. I kept thinking about Emma, sleeping in the back of the truck. She trusted me to keep her safe. Cole trusted me enough to sleep. That wasn't something I could take lightly. One of the men stepped forward, resting his hands on the top rail of the fence. Nice bike you got there, he said, tilting his chin toward the Harley. His voice was casual, but the kind of casual you get before trouble starts. Not mine, I said flatly. He smirked. That's good. Would be a shame if the rain messed it up. My grip tightened on the iron. I wasn't about to get pulled into a fight, not unless they made the first move. Still, I shifted my stance. Ready. They started pacing along the fence line. Slow, deliberate, testing me. The youngest one flicked his cigarette into the mud and said, "Storm's a good time to do business. No one hears much in this weather." The older one kept his eyes on me the whole time, like he was measuring my resolve. Then, faint under the rain, I heard something else. A different set of footsteps, coming from the diner's back door. For a moment, I thought Cole had woken up. But when the door creaked open, it wasn't him. It was a stranger in a dark raincoat, and the way the others shifted told me they knew him. The man in the raincoat stepped into the faint glow of my flashlight beam. His face was thin, hollow-cheeked, with eyes that never stayed still for more than a second. The three by the fence straightened a little, not in respect, but like they were waiting for a signal. He didn't speak right away, just looked past me, toward the tent where Cole was sleeping. "You're not the guy I expected," he finally said. "I get that a lot," I replied, trying to sound like my heartbeat wasn't hammering. He smiled, not a warm smile, not even a fake one. It was the kind that said he already knew how this was going to end. "You're guarding him?" I didn't answer. My silence was the answer. The raincoat man nodded slowly. "Then you know what's coming if you stay in our way." My hands tightened around the tire iron. "Then I guess I'm staying." One of the men by the fence laughed under his breath, but the raincoat man didn't move. Instead, he reached into his pocket. My muscles coiled, ready, but all he pulled out was a cigarette, shielding the lighter's flame against the wind. The smell of smoke mixed with the wet asphalt. "You think you're helping him," he said, "but you're not. Some people are just marked. And when the time comes, there's nothing you or anyone can do." His words hit heavier than they should have, mostly because I'd heard versions of them before. From neighbors when I left my old life, from relatives who stopped calling. "Funny thing about that," I said, stepping closer. "People told me the same about myself. And yet, here I am." Lightning flashed, and I caught the smallest flicker of something in his eyes. Not fear. Recognition. The youngest one couldn't hold still anymore. He slipped around the end of the fence, boots sucking in the mud. "Hey!" the older man warned, but the kid either didn't hear or didn't care. He walked right up until there were only a few feet between us. "You really gonna stand out here all night?" he asked. "If that's what it takes." He grinned, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Man's gotta sleep sometime. Then it won't be tonight." For a second, I thought he might swing. Instead, he leaned in, whispered something I couldn't make out over the storm, and then spat into the mud at my feet. The raincoat man said something sharp in a language I didn't understand, and the kid backed off, muttering. The message was clear. They weren't done. Not by a long shot. The rain didn't let up. My jacket felt like it weighed 20 pounds. My fingers numb around the tire iron. Every so often, I checked the tent. Emma was still curled up, the faint glow of her night light making her little face look peaceful. Cole hadn't stirred. That still bothered me. The man could sleep through a thunderstorm, but not through danger, unless he trusted me. The men stayed at the edge of the lot, silhouettes in the flicker of lightning. They didn't try again, but they didn't leave either. We were locked in a quiet standoff, neither side blinking first. And somewhere in the middle of that, I realized something. I wasn't scared anymore. Not of them, not of the storm. I'd been here before in different ways. Standing between someone I cared about and the thing that wanted to take them away. This time, I wasn't backing down. The sky was just starting to pale when the raincoat man finally moved. He flicked the last of his cigarette into the mud and gave me one long, unreadable look. Then he turned and walked back the way he came. The others followed, disappearing into the gray morning mist. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. My arms felt like lead, my legs stiff from standing guard all night. I ducked back into the tent. Cole was still asleep, but the sound of the zipper made him stir. His eyes opened slow, then widened as he saw me dripping wet, mud up to my knees. "What the hell?" he muttered. "Nothing you need to worry about," I said quietly. "It's handled." But the way he looked at me, like he understood more than I'd said, told me he knew exactly what had happened. Cole sat up, pulling the damp jacket tighter around him. His eyes held something deeper than tiredness, a quiet respect that wasn't often given or earned. "You didn't have to do that," he said softly, voice rough from sleep. I shrugged, wiping mud off my jeans. "Maybe, but I wanted to. Someone's got to watch your back when you're out cold." He looked away for a moment, then back at me, his usual tough edge softened. You're not just riding with me, Jack. You're standing in my place. The weight of that hit me like a punch to the chest. I wasn't sure I was ready for that kind of loyalty, but I wasn't about to walk away from it either. Emma peeked out of the tent, rubbing sleep from her eyes. She looked at the two of us and smiled, small but sure. You stayed up all night? She asked. I nodded. Had to make sure you and Cole stayed safe. Her eyes flicked to Cole, then back to me. I'm proud of you, Dad. That simple sentence, spoken so innocently, hit a nerve I didn't know was raw. I felt tears prick the corners of my eyes, not from weakness, but from the fierce love that had brought me this far. Cole put a hand on my shoulder. You're part of this family now, Jack. No matter what. Later, as the sun rose and the storm finally eased, we packed up under quiet skies. The dirt was still wet, the air smelling fresh, almost like a second chance. Cole started the Harley with a low growl, the engine's roar a signal that we were moving forward, but none of us would forget what the night had demanded. That storm wasn't just weather. It was a test, and it showed us what mattered most when the world got dark. Loyalty, trust, and the courage to stand guard for someone who's finally learned how to lean on you. We loaded back into the truck and motorcycle, the three of us ready to chase the horizon again. Cole caught my eye and nodded. Next time you want to pull an all-nighter, maybe let me know? I laughed, the sound shaky but real. Deal. Emma slid into the back seat, already dreaming of the next adventure. The road stretched before us, endless and uncertain. But with the storm behind us and each other ahead, I knew we'd keep riding through whatever came next. Thanks for riding with us through another chapter. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and press the bell to stay with us on this journey. The road isn't easy, but together, we keep moving forward.